What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
So I think I started watching the Screensavers in 2002 when I moved to San Diego with a friend of mine. We got DirecTV, and there was this channel called TechTV, and it was all about technology. One of the shows on that network was the Screensavers, which started in 1998 and lasted until 2005, although it had kind of died before that. But yeah, my friend and I were both into technology. We were friends from high school. In high school, we were like art nerds / we were into art. We were into like computers, even though I didn't get my computer until like my senior year in high school. But there were computers at school, and friends had computers, and just that's my group of friends. They were very into technology. I got in a little bit late, but we were into art, technology, and playing pickup basketball. That was, and we had a diverse group of friends. If we were going to cast the movie version of my school years, they would be casting Mexican, Black, Japanese, Korean, and then of course, a fat white kid. Because you can't have a good-looking white kid, you got to have a fat white kid. And yeah, so I moved with my friend to San Diego, and Screensavers was on, and we would literally I think it was a daily show. Because I remember just waking. It was kind of the show that we both watched in the morning. It was a tech show where they would have guests on, but they would talk about tech news. They would do tips and tricks, and this was like way before cell phone. I mean, cell phones were still a thing. Like I think it was right around the time. It was like you had like the Palm Pilots, and you had like the handsprings. The Trio came out a little bit later. But phones were pretty basic. Texting was a thing. Some of them I think could take pictures, maybe. But so it was mostly like, and your computer was still towers. There was laptops. Most people had towers, especially if you were a tech guy, a tech nerd, because you could soup up those towers. You can add more RAM, put a bigger hard drive in there, put a better graphics card in there. You can overclock the processor to get more out of it, but it might, start on fire. So there's all these different things. They would also have like Kevin Rose is where I was introduced to Kevin Rose, and he was the dark tipper, and he would give like, this is how you use Napster, or this is how you use BitTorrent. Like kind of early dark web shit before, I think it was way before there was actually a dark web. Leo Laporte was one of the hosts. Sarah Lane was one of the hosts. Morgan Webb, Martin Sargent. Patrick Norton, Alex Albrecht, Jessica Corbin, all like hosts that went on to be a part of Revision 3 or do their own podcasts. So it was a show that all these people that were part of it was tech centric, but they also knew, because they were, tech geeks themselves and entertainers, and when they saw what happened, like the network got bought out and they changed it to G4 and changed the show to more pop culture stuff and moved away from tech and went to, I think it's now Attack the Show. And even that I think is gone. But when that transition happened, a lot of people left. They moved the show from San Francisco down to LA. And in them leaving, that's when Revision 3 started. It was a lot of people from the Screensavers. Leo Laporte created Twit and the Twit network. And then some of the other people like Morgan Webb kind of went on to do her own thing. And then Patrick Norton went on to do a show very similar to the Screensavers called Techzilla. So I was able to, there was a break, probably for a few years there before I got into podcasts, but it was cool to when I started getting into podcasts, to see all of these familiar faces still doing their thing, just way ahead of everybody. They were able to utilize technology in a way to create their own legitimate TV network, way before like the ease of podcasts now. Podcasting and subscribing to a podcast and hosting a podcast are like so easy now. It's like effortless to start a podcast now, compared to back in like the early 2000s when all of these people started to do their podcasts. These are like, you want to talk about early pioneers to podcasting. A lot of it came from the people that were involved with the TV show The Screensavers, because they were into technology. So and they were hosts and they were personalities. So it made sense that they had the knowledge of how to do it, and then they had the abilities, and they made it happen. And for me, for where I'm at, where I do this show daily, where I've done tons of podcasts in the past, where I try to utilize technology as much as possible, not to just do podcasts, but with my artwork and Photoshop and just the crazy advances that things have, like the internet has played in making life easier and being able to do things in a way that was never possible for just a regular person. Like anybody could start their own TV show or radio show or do whatever they want from the comfort of just buy a computer and learn. Like, and you can do, or a phone, you could do so much stuff just on your phone now. But for me, it all started with TechTV and the Screensavers and Kevin Rose and Sarah Lane and Leo Laporte and Morgan Webb and Martin Sargent and Alex Albrecht, Patrick Norton, Jessica Corbin, and so many other people that were a part of the show. And all the things was kind of the initial, like I would probably never would have gotten into podcasting when I did if I didn't watch the Screensavers. So if I didn't watch the Screensavers, I wouldn't have looked up those people later to see if they're still doing shows, because I missed watching their shows. And I got rid of cable at the time, so I knew they were into the internet stuff. So I looked up and they were doing podcasts. I was like, well, this is my entertainment now. And then, now it's my life. So shout out to the Screensavers. Much love to all those people. It was crazy because, like, following it, like, there was a time where, like, Kevin Rose and Sarah Lane had a relationship, and it was like, I remember it being a thing, but not a thing. Like, you could tell, but like people would reference it, but kind of not. It was awesome. And she was, there was a lot of I was attracted to a lot of these nerds. As it were. That's it for this episode. Shout out to being inspired by the smaller things in your life that who would have known? Who would have known? Who would have known? You don't know. You can't predict where your life is going. Crazy things happen all the time. New episodes of this show come out daily. Subscribe on IGTV and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder. InspiredDisorder.com for all of my artwork, over 700 original paintings for sale to you. Buy one now at Ray Taylor for me on all social media. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out.